It's Sunday, the 14th of December, 2025, and didn't do any videos this weekend because I was actually really busy and some of the stuff was not planned. And so on Friday, I had a bonfire outside with a few friends. It was it was fun. And I was celebrating because I had just um, shared to multiple people, but also on my social media about the box warnings that were put on the COVID therapeutics, um, which were not vaccines, but anyway, still not. And like especially again, box warning labels for children and young adults. And this is something that should have been done years ago. And it's unfortunate, you know what I mean? It's almost 2026 now, and there have been people that have been screaming from the rooftops, lives destroyed because of trying to share information, medical, scientific, and government data from on the ground for literally years. But anyways, on that, and so I had bought champagne again, and so even last night I went to a concert, absolutely no drinking because it's like I don't know, I'm getting older, so like even just drinking a little bit, it does get to me. So anyway, I had champagne because again it was a special occasion for me. I'm like, oh my god, we've been fighting for this for years. Literally, the Freedom Convoy, the reason why it got as big as it did, and why I really wanted to get involved in assisting with it, like coordinating, like so much stuff. I've already talked about all this stuff. It was because they had just approved the therapeutic for children between the ages of 5 and 11, and just a few months before that, this was like end of November, early December of 2021, I believe it was. And it was just, what the heck? Like, this is getting worse, not better. But anyways, it's finally, though, black box warning. Excuse me. So I had sent that to Helen Bruce, that clip that I had about it being confirmed and stuff like that as well. I was really, again, and so I thought she would like that because she was someone that was Ottawa Police Services, still is, for over 20 plus years, and part of the SACA unit, the Sexual Assault Child Abuse Department unit. So she was responding to the deaths of children. This is not an easy job, right? You know, under the age of 5, and so looking at, you know, again, this could be accidental. This could be so many different things why children die under the age of 5. But they were seeing a trend in children that were otherwise healthy, no previous health conditions, suddenly dying, even in their parents' arms. Really messed up stuff, and responding to that and seeing this like an increase during the time that the vaccine was rolling out, and just trying to investigate thoroughly because again she was a professional. I had worked with her on contracts, higher level stuff with Global Affairs Canada, with DART, and with high level other government organizations. Again, I'm stumbling a bit because when I talk about this stuff, sometimes I get a little amped up. But anyway, so she was suspended and charged that first weekend of the Freedom Convoy. Someone that was a professional, someone that was not a conspiracy theorist, wasn't a tinfoil hat wearer. She's a Christian woman, a grandmother, you know, just an incredible human being. And she was trying to share information and it got shut down. And because of that, lives ruined. Surveillance on her, even overreach with wiretaps and things like that. And again, she was sharing good information, like not YouTube videos or memes, any of that stuff. It was based on data and reporting on the ground, being on the ground. And so anyways, we were talking about that on Friday night and a whole bunch of other things with this group that I was with. It was really fun. And then I went to a Brad Paisley concert last night, and I went with my sister and a friend of mine. And then as soon as we're walking in to the Canadian Tire Center, I hear my name. It's friggin' Helen. And I hadn't seen her for like at least several months by this point. And I just sent her like that friggin' video, like literally like 2 days before that. And then she was working, Ottawa Police Services was at the Canadian Tire Center last night anyways. And obviously also providing security. And a couple of the guys went on stage with Brad Paisley during one of his songs. It was really cool. But yeah, anyways, it was really nice seeing her. And she looks great. Yeah. And so it was really, again, it's just weird how like when you're talking to people, like how things line up, like within a short period of time, seeing them again. And yeah, it was good. All right, where was it going with this? I'm gonna share a video, and it's I think his name is Wolves of Finance. I just came upon his channel not too long ago. Yeah, Wolves in Finance, and I didn't know a lot about him. I had saw a few of his videos because he seems really smart and he shares a lot of good information, especially regarding like financial audits and financial dealings and things like that. And apparently he had worked in government before. And so it doesn't surprise me. But before I get into that, um, just regarding what's going on with Candace Owens, and there's a lot of heat on her, but there's a lot of support. And I don't think she should be censored. I've said this since the beginning. I have said that there are a couple of things where, like, she's looking into, because again, she's going to be looking at everything, right? And again, as someone that was a friend of Charlie Kirk's, which she was, and with the assets and connections she has, like, I think that like, who better, right? And so she's getting a lot of heat for it. Like, I really don't understand, like, why people are trying to censor her. It's friggin' free speech, especially on the right. I'm like, you guys are all about free speech and not attacking people about attacking points. And so you've got people that are jumping on this bandwagon, and including Erika Kirk. And so anyways, and so there's just some interesting things, just how she's been further responding to Charlie Kirk and certain other situations, and her response, with the with regarding Candace Owens and things like that. I just, like, that's really actually making her look more suspicious. And I'm always open to being, I said, like, there's motive with people to want to have Charlie Kirk assassinated because of him calling out and questioning Israel more, because of funding issues, because of an audit that was possibly going to be done. All of these things, like, I've already shared these videos. I don't want to go too much into it, but Candace Owens is also literally sharing a lot of good information, and so this is where I think that there's more pressure for them to say, you need to drop this. And that's why, like, so when Tim Pool started getting on this bandwagon and Erika Kirk, I'm just like, this is really interesting. Like, why do you want to cancel one person and blame one person for, like, not, like, for the Republicans possibly not, winning the next election, or, the MAGA movement, which, like, she was never part of anyways, like, to be dismantled. But anyway, all of this stuff. And so the connections that she has with her family, like what her father and her mother have done, Erika Kirk, I'm talking about, within, like, the defense community industries, with cybersecurity, with AI, even with Raytheon, and again, working with military contractors and stuff like that. It's just very interesting to me. And so I just think it's interesting, right? And so there are people that are honeypots that, again, like, this is basically, some people are literally groomed for these positions. Like, I'm telling you, like, throughout their whole life, they are getting trained with, like, even behavior, protocols, languages, educational background, like, focusing on, like, certain arts, and, like, again, things done from, like, very early on. And then women and men that are utilized to, marry people, have children, live together, yada yada yada. Like, this happens all the time, and feelings do come out of that and stuff like that as well. So I'm not saying that if Erika Kirk was possibly some kind of a honeypot. Again, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying I have any proof. I do not, but I'm just saying it's like, her career path and her life path. It's not dissimilar to honeypots that I've communicated with, or anyway, and so very interesting, or that I've done research on. So there was that. The Egyptian planes that were following her for a few years, that's actually confirmed by multiple sources. And so that's, so again, I think it was Candace that was the one that blew the lid off that one. The Turning Point USA funding. And then Erika Kirk, again, another thing, she lied about the fact that she said that her husband didn't think that his life was being threatened, that he didn't feel unsafe, all this stuff, when you even have Frank Turk and multiple other people corroborating the fact that he did think that his life was in danger, asking people to pray for him, etc. Again, I've already shared these videos to people. I don't want to be redundant, but take a look at Frank Turk's page. I'm giving you the names of the people so you can go look at their stuff, and other people corroborating that as well. And then Candace actually gave the name of the person that told her that he had, within maybe the night before or shortly before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, that they had communication, and Charlie did feel like his life was in danger. And then there was communication about added security, or actually, no, maybe that was with Frank Turk, but anyways, all along the same lines. So why would she lie about that? And so I'm not saying that Tyler Robinson didn't fire the round. There's a lot of proof. And I know people don't want me to say that because they think that it's possibly, like the French Legionnaires, or it's possibly, all of these things. But, like, again, there's DNA evidence. There is footage and surveillance. There's a lot, right, that connects Tyler Robinson to being the one that was the fall guy, this piece of shit scumbag fucking psychopath. Sorry for swearing, but again, like, who the fuck does that stuff? And again, it was so public, and that's also interesting to me. This was very public. This was something that was a live event in a very significant location, and it was very gruesome. And again, for the world to see. And so again, and it was just before September 11th. And so I don't know. So these are just things to me that like still need to be looked into. I don't think he acted alone. I think he absolutely had people that were radicalizing him and pushing him to do that. However they did it, again, we need more proof. Unfortunately, if it is in fact the people that we think it is that are possibly involved somehow, they do have access to servers and browsers. They do have access to people's laptops and computers and phones. They're able to delete information. They're able to make information go away. Unfortunately, even from like not being physically in your home to like manipulate your devices, and they can even retract and recall emails. This is where I was saying with that Tesla incident almost a year ago now. Matt Bulger or whatever his name was. Oh, anyway, he is the one, the Trump Tower Tesla that had essentially exploded, and but they were saying that he had sent an email. And again, look at my videos on that. And I was saying, okay, like he could have sent that email, absolutely, possibly. But there's also people that do also, they're able to copy people's like email addresses and actually make it look like you are sending emails. And I've said this even with my cousin. This happened to with I think it was Pegasus or anyways one of the other Israeli spy agencies or whatever. That but anyways, on her own email. She sent an email to herself, and she was like, what the heck is this? So of course, like she asked me first, and then I'm like, okay, look into your sent messages. Okay, they didn't come from my sent messages. Okay, so anyway, sorted that out. But again, so this is common, right? And so like this doesn't even just happen within like the industry. This happens even with like civilians. My cousin's a civilian. She's in her 20s, and it was a weird email about threats and attempts at blackmail or bribery. Again, it was all like bullshit, but she's like, this is weird. So where was I going with that? So yeah, so Erika is she's lying and she's saying things that are really like off there, and then again like when she's also not, again, everyone grieves differently, but as someone who has lost people before that I cared about, not even like husband, like the father of my children, you know, even myself, like being like an infantry officer, first responder type, etc. Like I took it like it was a lot, right? There is a grieving process, and I've never seen, you know, that, I don't know, like that level of alertness, that level of like the ability to just be so, I don't know, happy. And anyways, teach their own. So anyway, they're Turning Point USA, honestly, and these people are not making themselves look better by lying, and especially again about literally everything. It's like, why? Like, okay, now again, like maybe we need to look more. Okay, so I'm just looking at my notes here. I'm gonna share a few Instagram clips before I get into the video about Wolves in Wall Street calling out Tim Pool. Because again, I've done it recently as well. Oh, I'm getting something from my friend here. Anyway.
And do your part and do it for grandma.
So I'm just going to refresh this. Oh, come on. Okay, I'll shut this down. I'll share something else with you. I want to get the studies on this because this just came out, but I want to link to the data. So if anyone has that's listening, I could probably just go on an AI search engine and ask for that. But so the landmark study of an entire country, approximately 51 million, confirms mRNA shots unleashed VAIDS in all age groups. Vaccinated Koreans suffered a dose-dependent rise in the common cold, upper respiratory infections, pneumonia, and tuberculosis, up to 559% increase. Anyways, it goes from there. I want to get the study. VAIDS. I don't even know if I was the one that coined the term. I have no idea, but I literally have titles of videos from even a few years ago saying that we need to be worried about VAIDS, vaccine adverse events. Anyway, vaccine autoimmune disorder.
Every single resident in South Korea was in this study, every single one. And so what did they do in this study? Well, they again compared who got the vaccine, they compared it to who didn't, and they stratified by dose number. But the shocking thing about this study is, before we dig into it, is this is the strongest signal that we have to date that vaccine-acquired immunodeficiency syndrome is real, or what's called VAIDS. So what happened in this study was, as each dose was incurred among these South Koreans, so they get 1 dose, 2 dose, 3 dose, 4+ doses, each time they got another dose, their immune function dropped off. And they suffered, when you reached the 4th dose, you started to suffer about 550% increased risks of other infections, common cold, tuberculosis, and upper respiratory tract infections. It was an absolute travesty. And you know who was affected the most was young children, ages 0 to 19. They had the highest risks of these other infections. So what's happening is these injections are causing immune collapse. They're exhausting the T cells. They're causing immune dysregulation, what's called IgG4 class switching. The immune system literally becomes dysfunctional. And as our other studies indicated, genes related to immune function literally become shut down. And so this is very disturbing. And again, you can't get a stronger sample size than an entire country.
No, and I did share the VAERS, the vaccine adverse events reports from Pfizer alone from February. What was released, again, this was very much underreported, especially at that time, because there was financial incentive to it, and again, people felt so goddamn important in their jobs that they just wanted to, be the heroes of the day. But despite the fact that you were enabling this goddamn pandemic to roll out. But anyways, I get just so frustrated sometimes, and I'm sorry because I should be over it by now. It's been so many years. But anyway, so February, the lock date was February of 2021. It was released, I believe, the 28th of February 2021, and it showed autoimmune disorders and diseases that were literally part of Pfizer alone. And again, wasn't even just Moderna. So this wasn't Moderna, J&J, or J&J, not 3, 2. It was just Pfizer. So many different issues that I've unpacked over the years and shared countless videos on. And then March of 2022, again, Pfizer, same thing. They had reported more VAERS. And again, even people were contracting COVID via inoculation and dying. And this was being reported even in February of 2021, right at the beginning. And then of March of 2022. Yep, that's a fact. And so I'm going to try to get the studies out of Korea. But again, I have the reports that Pfizer wanted to bury and not be released for 75 years. I already have it. I've had it for literally probably almost 3 years by now. And for the 2021, so 4 years by now. And people like myself and Helen Gruce and others I can't even name, we're sharing this information. It's so mind-blowing sometimes to think about it. I did find that clip. It was going to be from another person, but it's the same thing. It's just regarding the black box warnings.
Reporting has just come out about the COVID vaccine trial.
So this is what I was celebrating on Friday night because I had found this clip and posted a few days ago. And anyway, it was good news finally.
And children. Alex Berenson reported this, and I have been reliably informed that we are fine to go with this reporting and that this will be borne out in the coming days. His headline is, and it was an exclusive to him, the FDA may add a strict black box warning on the mRNA COVID shots for kids and teens, millions of whom have already been given this thing, a black box warning. He reports the FDA may soon place this warning on the vaccines to alert physicians and parents of their link to childhood deaths. This is the strictest an agency can impose, this kind of warning. It's generally the last step they take before forcing a manufacturer to stop selling it. They're also considering an alternative, forcing Moderna and Pfizer to stop selling them to kids and teens, period. The potential move, he reports, follows the FDA's report on Friday that its reviewers had found COVID mRNA jabs killed at least 10 children and adolescents, and likely many more. He said they'd asked the FDA for comment, waiting to hear back. My sources tell me this is safe reporting. This actually is under consideration, and we're going to hear a report confirming this within days from the highest levels. This is an outrage, Chamath. This was forced on us. Every school, including my own.
Yep.
They were expelling boys.
My family too. Yep.
Who would not take the vaccine.
Their kids.
Once they hit 16 and so on. This is downright dangerous, and it was sold to us by the Fauci, Biden, Collins administration under Joe Biden that refused to consider actual scientists like Vinay Prasad, who led this. He's leading this within FDA, who was an independent physician at Johns Hopkins at the time. And he was saying this at the time, saying these vaccines are causing deadly myocarditis in kids and teens. And he was scoffed at. He was marginalized like so many others and tried to dismiss as fringe. And now, thank God, under Trump and Marty McCary, he's been elevated to an important position. An extraordinary piece of reporting has just...
Yeah. People were, right from the beginning, giving medical, scientific, and government data, and it was not being looked at. I have all the email receipts. I have the phone call logs. I have all of that. I'm actually going to share with you. Why not? I've shared this in the past before multiple times, and so I'm sorry if it's redundant for people. But this is the information that I was giving to people. So this was like a folder I put together. I gave it to Pat King as well and others. And I've also cited these on videos on Rumble because my YouTube accounts kept on getting zapped. But I was giving, again, look at this, the Pfizer released bears, PDFs, official data, a letter to the president of University of Toronto from a legal team, Betty's Law. And it just gets into so much information about COVID and the pandemic and the PCR testing and the masking and the informed consent and all of this stuff. And so that was a big thing. Can you see it? Let me just go back to my video. I don't know if it's blacking it out or anything. Why is it not letting me go back? Go back. Okay, so you can't see that that letters. So let me see here. Share directly. Yeah, so this was released early on. Courtney Betty's Law. Just look at all this information that was provided for years to people at all levels of government. I sent this to pretty much every single cabinet member. I have the receipts. I gave it to CBC, CTV, Global News, tip lines, you name it, laughed at. CSIS tip lines, all of this stuff, laughed at, ignored. Anyway, so there was this. I'll see if I can share. I can't look at my screen at the same time that I'm sharing these, so if it's not coming up, I apologize. Okay, maybe if I just change the tabs here, because... So here we go. This is the COVID-19 mRNA Pfizer BioNTech vaccine analysis print. The lock date was the 16th of March, 2022. It was released on the 21st of March, 2022. Report run date. So these were all the VAERS that were reported. And again, it was very much underreported. This has been confirmed. Let me see. Okay, yeah, it's pulled up. All right, good. And okay, I'll go back now. And blood disorders, platelet disorders, cardiac disorders. Let me just see here. Okay, so just to autoimmune, and sometimes they break up the words so that people can't see like the total amount, right? They rename things differently. I've already broken that down as well. So you've got autoimmune thyroiditis. And so there was cases of that, Addison's disease, adrenocortical insufficiency, thyroid, autoimmune hyperhidrotism, immune-mediated hypohidrotism. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Autoimmune uveitis. Sorry, I've got the sun kind of like blocking my view here. Autoimmune pancreatitis, autoimmune colitis, autoimmune hepatitis, autoimmune disorders, autoimmune disorder, 59. So again, cytokine release syndrome, Bacille, Calmette-Guerin scar reactivation. Look at all this. Anaphylactic reaction. But and again, very much underreported. And this was from March of 2022, so early on. So again, going down. Autoimmune disorder, autoimmune disease, autoimmunity analysis. Even type 1 diabetes mellitus and type 2 diabetes mellitus, autoimmune arthritis. This is just typing in auto-im. Lung disease, autoimmune blistering disease. Like, what the fuck is even that? That sounds like horrible. Autoimmune dermatitis, autoimmune anemia, autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Anyways, so this is from, so this is the February 28, 2021 release. Autoimmune disorders. So again, 2021, early February 2021. Autoimmune disorders and Raynaud's phenomena. Yeah, autoimmune. And there's more. Okay, I sent so much stuff. I'll go back to the tab if I can. Yeah, so letter to Pierre Poilievre that I sent with references, letter for Public Health Ontario with references that I've shared to people, letter to the Ombudsman. I did a template for people in government, 10 pages long with references. Even like, for example, what the military was directed to the Chief of Defense Staff, not minuted, not actioned, not brought up. And this is official military correspondence that was provided by officers and not even considered. Absolutely disgusting. These people need to go to jail. And I know that sounds dramatic. I know that does, but people died. And even Dina Hinshaw, I believe her name was, should be in jail, should at least be charged and in the courts, criminally or civilly. Like, she literally needs to be in the courts. And she lied about a boy who he had a brain cancer and he died from brain cancer. And she alleged lied to people, the leader of this friggin' province, and said that he had died because of COVID. Disgusting human beings. And that further fueled the rage against people that were not vaccinated. Again, me that has my friggin' vaccine passport, or whatever you want to call it, not vaccine passport, sorry, the booklet. Because of everywhere I've gone and I have so many shots in my body, but looking at that one, I'm like, this one is, this is not FDA approved. It shouldn't be. Looking at the original trials, absolutely not. There was no placebo group. And again, this is confirmed by people that were part of the original trials, like Pat King even, right? And I didn't even know that he was part of those original trials before we talked. And, but he was verifying reports and corroborating information that I already had and was saying. And again, it's just nice to see that there were other people, again, that were seeing or exposed to the same things, trying to speak out on it. And again, and he got so screwed over as well. Oh my God, he went to freaking jail. Like he's, he is disabled. He does have like an issue with his leg, and and it's just such a solid guy that giving this type of information out, and people were like literally trying to ruin his life, and Jeremy McKenzie and others as well. Wild. Yeah. And Helen Gross. So people like that with incredible resumes and heroes and smart, of service, all of that stuff, they lives ruined because of people like Teresa Tam and Vera Etches and Dina Hinshaw, whatever her name is, and Bonnie Henry and these apps, Chrystia Freeland, people that have like no business being in the positions they're in. Disgusting human beings. And I'm saying this now, when you look at what they did and what they said for years, you would understand it, and how they voted and the policies they tried to implement and things like that. Absolutely anti-Canadian, anti-constitutional, anti-God. So, yeah, Tim Pool, I did share with a fairly prominent social media podcast this video. It was from 5 days ago. I sent it right away to this guy, and because again, Tim Pool, like I think he's a little bit sus. I think he lies. I know he lies and he exaggerates things. And so if he's going to lie or possibly lie or embellish the fact that his compound possibly got shot up by someone, then you need to bring receipts. And so as someone that has had my house attempted to be broken into, I have literally proof of this stuff. And police reports and phone logs that I've given to people for when I called the police, all of this stuff. Like, he can give even his phone log, right? Like, even if he just gives a screen capture so they don't see the phone numbers before and after, or have access to any other details on his phone. And maybe he has already. Again, I haven't followed up again in the last 24 hours with him because I was busy. But so far, he has still not provided any proof that this actually happened. That he filed a police report is what I'm talking about, and that this is actually not something that was possibly staged for dramatic effect from a guy that's possibly losing it. So anyway, this is from Godfather of Chaos. And again, for people that have already watched this, I'm sorry, I'm sharing it again. But Tim Pool's shooter found faster than the police report and possibly never existed. From a veteran.
Yeah, hi. So my name is Adam. I go by Adam the Angler online. I run like a very small content creator, accounts on like X and YouTube and whatnot. Anyways, Tim Pool had put out a post on X on December 6th around 8 a.m. saying that there was a shooting that took place at his compound, I guess, his residence / business. I have a possible address but I'm not 100%. But I just wanted to call and just verify that he has contacted you guys, like he said, because something about this just doesn't add up to me. So yeah, I just wanted to see if he's being honest or not, basically.
I mean, the only shooting I'm aware of is the murder we had up on the mountain last month. I'm not aware of any other shootings.
Okay. Yeah, no one would have been hurt necessarily. He said in his post that it happened around 1 a.m. on the 6th of December, saying that someone approached his property and allegedly fired 3 shots. But then he said what's that?
What's his name?
Tim Pool. He's like a fairly large content creator. He covers a lot of like geopolitics and whatnot.
Okay.
And so I believe he lives within your jurisdiction, as far as I can tell. So I just
there are no calls associated with him. A report was taken. So
I'm sorry. Say that again. You said a report was taken.
I said I just ran his name in local. So if there had been if he had reported a shooting that we responded to in Jefferson County, it would have shown up in my system, and when I just ran his name, there's no calls associated with the shooting. There's nothing for shootings and when I run his address, there's nothing coming up for it, or his name.
Huh. Well, okay. I appreciate that. We'll see if he produces something more on this alleged shooting. Because he's literally put nothing out other than saying there was a shooting and that he was in contact with police. And I've called you guys. You haven't heard of anything. And I even just talked to an officer with the Harpers Ferry PD and the incorporated city part or town part. And they said they didn't have one either. So I'm starting to lean towards this might be a hoax.
Yes, this is Deputy Hutchinson with Jefferson County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, hi.
Deputy Hutchinson. He sounds pretty intense. And honest. And he's a public servant, as he should have been, right? Like, this is information that should be public knowledge. Yeah, people wanting to defund the police, my friggin' ass. Come on, guys. Anyway. Okay, so I'll get into the video. Wolves in Finance. This was posted a few hours ago. And didn't know his background, but I'm glad he got into it. He's probably said this before, but again, I just fell upon his channel not too long ago, and we have similar backstories with like why we started videos. I'm not a social media influencer or anything, and I don't want to be, or a podcaster. I would like to go on certain shows like Shawn, Ryan, and others and explain things, and then get back to my my government contracts again. But there's still, again, we still have the same government. We still have the same people in the same positions, still working for the same foreign nationals. And not just nationals, again, like people connected to, like, anyways, not even just the bankers, but the Bilderberg crew, WEF, UN, Davos crew. So anyway, there's no traction. I was coordinating courses for people that were high-level government, global affairs, and others to respond to natural and man-made disasters internationally. This is not a brag or anything like that. This is just to give people context. I had been doing this for literally years, literally trained to do that work, to respond to natural and man-made disasters, our highest levels of government before anyone else goes, even the special forces, and in conjunction with them, because I was working with them too for these courses and with these courses and separate courses. And so again, it's not a brag. I was giving my resume, like outing myself to people within government. I'm like, hey, listen, like this is just to share like my background and experiences. This is what I'm coming up with. It's completely not what you guys are coming up with, and this is a concern to me, right? Because it's never been this incorrect. And there are, there's a lot of damage that's being done, like even like indirectly with the lockdowns and the mandates and the extreme measures that were put like imposed on people. This should have been a focused response, but anyway. And completely getting dismissed again. And the people that were dismissing it again, like literally respectfully, had no business. Like their resumes do not even come close. They completely like not even in their realm of knowledge and expertise. Again, I even said I have top secret government clearance. I have for years. Okay, and this is who I've worked with. Okay, so like maybe I know a little bit more than you on this thing, respectfully speaking. Even the friggin' CSIS tip lines and stuff like that. I'm like, guys, like I literally know people that have worked with your field teams. I like your higher level people. We've done like special operations planning conferences with all of these people before. I was involved in that even a fucking decade ago. And again, it's not a brag, but like again, maybe I know a little bit more about what's goddamn going on. And this guy's saying the same thing, like you have no choice when you try within your community, and then when you try to reach out to people like the ombudsman and Health Ontario and tip lines and the media and stuff, when you have no traction at all because no one's fucking listening, and in fact they're shutting it down hard and actually making us look like the enemies, it's impossible. And again, when you have a part-time drama background or a friggin' journalist background, like low level, like leftist radical, like journalism, like not even real journalism anymore, or like a political science degree. I have a political science degree, like one of my degrees, like, and I was in my 4th year for a cognitive science degree, by the way, through this as well. I went because I wasn't vaccinated. I couldn't even talk to my professors or the heads of the departments or the COVID teams they were imposing on us throughout the entire time I was getting my degree. I'm in my 4th year. It's on hold because again, even within the scientific community, within Carleton University, they are teaching not science. They don't even know how to even like to explain the differences between a man and a woman. Yeah, it's gotten bad. Rant over. So Tim Pool rants about Turning Point. Yeah.
I have made 2 videos on Turning Point. 2 videos. And people have lost their minds over these videos. Some people like them, some people hate them. One of those people is Tim Pool. He has now made multiple live streams about my videos and said some really horrible things about me. I'm going to go through his comments and provide a response.
I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched the whole thing.
Before we get started, if you're wondering why my voice sounds strange, I'm just getting over a cold, so you're going to have to bear with me. On December 5th, 2025, Tim Pool had a 2-hour live stream with Milo Yiannopoulos and George Santos. Here Tim Pool is talking about how Candace Owens discussed my video on her show.
I'm going to give you a specific example from her show.
Yeah.
She highlighted claims that Turning Point was committing fraud. And these claims were, there were a few.
This is about the tax something, right?
Right. And it's all lies. The tax form thing is all lies and manipulations.
When you say lies.
And let me, yes, absolute lies. The man behind these videos claims to be an accountant. Okay. So either he's lying about being an accountant or he's lying to you.
Just for the record, I'm a certified public accountant. Here's my initial certificate.
Oh, there you go.
I've been an active CPA for the last 10 years in both New Mexico and Arizona. I was the former chief financial officer of Spaceport America, the world's first purpose-built commercial.
Isn't that crazy? I had no idea. That's pretty cool.
Spaceport. I became a whistleblower when I uncovered financial mismanagement by the governor of New Mexico and her staff, including evidence of $250 million of fraud. I've spent the last 4
How
years.
is this not? How is he not like on huge media outlets right now? Almost $250 million or whatever it was, billion in fraud in one
In
area.
a massive whistleblower lawsuit against the state of New Mexico.
So I'm going to back that up a little bit.
Mismanagement by the governor of New Mexico and her staff, including evidence of $250 million of fraud. I've spent the last 4 years in a massive whistleblower lawsuit against the state of New Mexico. Tim Pool clearly does not know anything about me, including the fact that I have spent years fighting for truth, justice, and exposing government corruption. No one is paying me to make these videos.
Neither.
I'm completely independent.
Yep.
I have worked in the private sector, government, and the political world for a long time.
Yep.
I am the perfect person to make these videos about Turning Point.
He said the tax forms were missing, as if to imply they did not file or they should have.
How they had not filed yet, or they missed the deadline.
In fact, he even mentions, I'm pretty sure in his video, the October deadline.
Tim Pool is flat out lying about what I said in my video. If we're going to talk about the missing 990 forms, let's get the facts straight. On Sunday, November 16th, 2025, I posted a video explaining that 3 of the 4 990 forms were missing for Turning Point shell companies. I have the screenshots from ProPublica, which is a website that pulls from the IRS database, which shows the forms were not posted. That is unusual. I'm not out of line for asking Turning Point where their 990 forms are. Then the forms finally get posted the following Thursday. What was so confusing for everyone was Turning Point's response. They said nothing. If Turning Point did file all 4 990 forms on 5/15/2025, why didn't they just tell us that? Wouldn't that have been the simple response to my video? It seems to me that if someone asks where your missing IRS forms are, a normal response would be to simply say, yes, I did file the forms, and here they are. Why didn't they just give us the forms? People were posting about this all over social media on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the forms showed up on Thursday through the IRS database. For those previous 4 days, why didn't Turning Point just give everyone the forms? Why stay silent about it? For Turning Point to ignore this was one of the biggest PR blunders they have ever done, because they could have stopped it on day 1 by just giving us all the missing forms. And you have to wonder, if I had not asked that question, would the forms have shown up the following Thursday?
Nope.
So the correct response...
Awesome. Like, he's literally the one that exposed that first. I had no idea he was the first one, but kudos to this guy.
For Turning Point should have been, thank you, Zach, for asking that question. Here are the forms. Turning Point did not respond at all until a tiny comment by the spokesperson Blake Neff on Wednesday, December 3rd. That is 17 days after I posted my video.
We have never missed a 990 deadline.
Come on. That is really disingenuous and not what happened. We were asking for the 990 forms.
That guy's background too. That just spoke. I forget what his name is, but he has a very interesting.
We have never.
Oh, what's his freaking name again? Help me out if anyone's watching this. But anyways, yeah, he has a interesting background.
Missed a 990 deadline.
Come on. That is really disingenuous and not what happened. We were asking for the 990 forms and you would not give them to us. That is what happened. For Tim Pool to say that I am the one spreading misinformation is an extremely dishonest description of what took place.
Isn't it true that they filed on the day?
Well, I don't know exactly.
And isn't it true that when he said that they hadn't filed yet?
No.
Was there a way for him to know they had filed? Because there is an enormous gap between when you file your taxes and when it shows up on the IRS website.
Indeed, which means they could have filed it in May.
So in order
So
to,
that means
in order to say that it is a lie, what you have to do is
no, I'm not done. How about you let me finish?
Sorry.
Yes,
You're right.
I have to say that Milo is a really smart guy. Yeah. I don't know this for sure, but Milo strikes me as someone who can smell nonsense a mile away.
Yeah.
Do you know someone like this? I think for some reason, Milo has this rare ability to tell when someone is trying to pull something over on him. And so when Tim goes on his rant, Milo stops him and is like, Tim, did Zach really say that? Is that really what Zach said?
So in his latest video,
He's had people walk out on his show when they realize that he's full of shit. Even Kanye, he was there with Nick Fuentes at one point. I just saw the clip where, again, they get into something, and of course Tim wants to like make it into something else, and Kanye, whatever you think of him, but anyways, like he like got up and left, basically said that you are basically like mainstream media or corporate media, whatever he said it was, but like he called it out. And so I think there are people that do have that ability, and I do think that that Milo was one of them. I wasn't familiar with his stuff either until just in the last few months, and interesting life story, but again, like very unique and very interesting. Like I said that twice, but no, he's very smart.
he claims that the new filings, which, quote, mysteriously appeared, which they literally didn't. I mean, it's framing. He says that it's $1.4 million was paid by Turning Point over 3 years to a parking lot. In fact, that's just false. He's just making things up.
Okay.
It was 110 LLC registered to a UPS store where there are mailbox. A single member LLC is likely a contractor who uses an LLC for business purposes.
For sure.
And these are the stories.
Once again, Tim Pool is lying about what I said. Tim Pool is talking about my comments in the parking lot of a strip mall.
So Turning Point is putting on their IRS form that they are sending $1.5 million to this parking lot. Well, I'm sitting here in the parking lot. The business is not here, as far as I can tell. What is going on?
Yes, I will admit that Tim is correct. There is a UPS store in that strip mall. But let me show you what is on the IRS form. There is no suite number, no mailbox number. This is just the address for the parking lot. So Tim Pool, tell me, where do you see the UPS suite number? I'm waiting because it is not on there. Tim Pool was lying about what I said in my video. Now, if Tim Pool wants to assume that Turning Point lied on their IRS form and put the wrong address information, he could do that. It may have been an honest mistake or intentional, we don't know. But Turning Point has not yet confirmed that the address on the IRS form should be the UPS store. So we still do not know that for sure. But I find the way that Tim Pool talks about the address very interesting. He talks about it like he knows for certain that it is the UPS store. That's odd, because it has not been confirmed. So my question for Tim is, did he talk with someone inside Turning Point who confirmed that it was supposed to be the address for the UPS store? We know that he has phone calls with people at Turning Point. I think that Tim needs to answer that question for all of us. And be very careful how you answer Tim. Because if that phone call took place, that means that Tim Pool has inside knowledge that Turning Point falsified their IRS documents by putting the wrong address information. If that phone call did not take place, that means that Tim is pulling all of this out of thin air and lying to all of us. So which one is it, Tim? I am asking reasonable questions about addresses on the IRS form that do not make any sense. Tim Pool's statements about my video are so dishonest, disingenuous, and completely misrepresenting what I said. When I was in that parking lot, I was just filming my honest reaction. I didn't know what I was going to find when I drove out there. To be honest, I expected to find a storefront for a marketing agency. Turning Point is paying all this money to Jake Hoffman, an Arizona state senator. If we were to accept Tim Pool's assumption that the money was sent to a UPS mailbox, I'm not sure that is any better. This politician is getting all this money dropped off in a UPS mailbox? Tim Pool, you don't think that sounds suspicious? Jake Hoffman, as a politician, has a responsibility to make his businesses look like legitimate operations and not bribes. He's not even trying to make this look like a legitimate company. There's no website. There are no offices. What is he doing with all of this money?
Okay, I'm not going to tell you, because I haven't looked into this, that he's not wrong. But
He's completely wrong.
I accept.
And so
I accept what you say. But
when Candace,
call him
without
a liar,
vetting,
to call him a liar.
Oh yeah, I'll call him a
most
liar.
It's not about calling him a liar.
most
He's
importantly-
intentionally
most-
manipulating
most-
information.
Most importantly, to call Candace a liar, you have to reach. You have to do two things that you cannot do. The first is you have to travel in time, and the second is you have to reach inside her head and see what her thought process was. You
is Candace smart?
You cannot. Are you? Can you seriously doubt it?
I just think it is funny that in all this discussion about Turning Point, the one person who's coming out looking like a saint is Milo Yiannopoulos. Isn't that ironic? The other guest in this live stream was George Santos. He was a Republican congressman who went to prison for fraud. Then Trump commuted his sentence. I will stick up for George Santos, even though he trashed me in this live stream. I think he was unfairly treated and should never have gone to prison. I am shocked that Tim Pool does not see the connection. George Santos went to prison for so much less than what we are talking about here. George Santos never picked up $1.5 million from a UPS store mailbox. George Santos never did anything like that, and he still went to prison. Am I the only person who sees the irony in that? I also have to point out that I am very measured and reasonable in my videos. I say over and over again that there could be an innocent explanation for all of this. I started out in my very first video saying about how I like Turning Point. I hope they succeed. I make it very clear that I am open to alternative explanations, and the staff at Turning Point could be completely innocent. It is okay if they made a mistake. No one is going to hold it against Turning Point if they made an honest mistake. They just have to tell us that. Did they screw up on the address? If there is an explanation, everyone would move on. That is all Turning Point has to do. Now, I understand that Turning Point is arranging to do a live stream soon where they answer questions, so hopefully they address some of these concerns. If you watch Tim Pool's full 2-hour live stream, the overall point that he is making is that both Candace Owens and everyone making videos about Turning Point are lying in our videos for clicks, and he says that it is evil.
And Candace Owens is doing the lowest grade, but well done, social assumptive reasoning, manipulation, and it is evil. It's evil.
Okay, so I think it's ridiculous for you earlier on to claim that you're not saying what she's doing is morally wrong, and then to call what she's doing evil. I think it's
I think it is morally. What do you mean?
Okay.
You are calling us evil. That is crossing the line, Tim. It's one thing to disagree with us. It's one thing to come up with alternative arguments. You are just calling us evil. That is uncalled for, especially when I have been so measured and reasonable in my videos. I really want Tim Pool to clarify this. I am an accountant talking about tax forms. How am I evil? But hold on, it gets worse. I'm going to give you more information about what was happening behind the scenes. Because what you do not know is that I was communicating with Tim Pool's team before he went off on his rant. The person who books guests for Tim Pool is someone named Lisa Reynolds. After I did my first video on Turning Point, she emailed me if I would do a 30-minute interview with Tim Pool on his morning show. This was just a few days after my first video. I intentionally decided that I was going to wait to do any other videos or interviews about Turning Point. My approach is that if I ask questions of someone in a video, I think it's only fair to give them some time to respond. I never want to gang up on people. I think that's a professional and measured way to do social media. I could have done a video every single day and gotten tons of clicks and tons of money, but I decided not to do that. Here's how I responded. Hello, thank you for reaching out. I would like to wait some time to allow Turning Point to respond to some of the concerns before saying anything further. I am not prepared to do a hit at this time. Also be aware that the video that was shown on Dee Dee's podcast contains some incorrect statements. Sections of my video have been removed and republished at the following link. And she responds, I completely understand. Thank you for letting me know. So what I'm referring to is that in my first video on Turning Point, I was notified that I made a mistake. I immediately corrected it, I think within the first 8 hours. I edited the video and I reposted it. I posted a correction statement on YouTube and X.com. The original video was shown on another podcast called Dee Got a Podcast. I also contacted Dee directly, and he also posted a correction on his YouTube channel. And by the way, it turns out that Dee is a super nice person, and you should go check out his podcast. So I'm explaining all of this to Tim Pool's staff. I'm explaining how I'm allowing Turning Point time to respond, and I'm careful about not posting false information. If I get something wrong, I make corrections, and I don't just leave things up to get more views. Now, I cannot say for sure if Tim Pool personally ever saw my email, but let's be real. I am sure he heard about my email. This is why I find it so shocking that Tim Pool goes on his live stream accusing me of being evil and lying in my videos for clicks when I have sent an email to his staff saying the complete opposite. If you just look at my behavior, it is the complete opposite. I am showing you evidence that Tim Pool knew that he was lying about me. He is doing the exact same thing he is accusing me of doing. Now, to put this in additional context, Tim Pool is one of the largest creators on YouTube and across social media. He has millions of subscribers. I'm a small channel. I'm a nobody. This is what is known as punching down. Tim Pool is lying about me to his millions of subscribers, smearing my name, and trying to destroy a small channel that he doesn't agree with. This is awful behavior. Tim Pool, I'm speaking to you right at small YouTube channels is really messed up. I am requesting that Tim Pool give me an apology for all the lies he told about me to his millions of subscribers. I also was talking about me at all. Just think about this. I'm a tiny channel. Why are people attacking a nobody? Is it because what I'm saying is actually credible? It is kind of strange that Tim Pool is losing his mind over my video. I'm asking questions about an address on an IRS form. He has now spent multiple live streams bashing my video. Don't you think that is a little overreaction? I think that there is something that I said in my last video that really makes the people at Turning Point nervous. Otherwise, there would not be all this up.
The video that he just shared, I just came across that on Reddit. I've actually been doing some research. I don't necessarily, let me just see here. It's not giving the unit. I'm trying to get the photos of that UPS store just so I can see if there's a suite number. But when I look at it, for some reason, even on Google Maps, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I just did a search and I got the Turning Point, just some of their information that was online. It took me like a second to find. Voters' Right to Know Act initial report, campaign media spending. This was from July 29th, 2025, filed Arizona Secretary of State. And so this is Turning Point PAC. I looked into 110. And so this is the Tyler Bowler, 4930 East Beverly Road, Suite 2000, Phoenix, Arizona, Executive Director. That's where I guess maybe their main branch is, or at least his. So then you look into here at ABC Consulting. Again, this is not all their finances and their donations and stuff like that. This is just one part. But I was looking at the address, like, so 18521 East Queen Creek Road, STE. It says here 105-503 Queen Creek, Arizona. Andy Biggs for governor. So that's that we're supporting. And that was May 27th, Delaware. And that was from 110 LLC. Because we're talking about that now. And so he's right that the 18521 East Queen Creek Road, it is a parking lot and there are multiple businesses there. But I was looking for the 105, like to see the suite number. So I was looking at photos. I can't find it for the photos that they're giving. But anyway, so I was looking at that. And what did I come up with here? It has the 105 in it. I'll just share with you. Actually, just my Google search for the maps. I put too many posts up sometimes. Too many tabs up. Okay, so ship and print here. So it is part of that parking lot. It's UPS store 4920, locally owned. So when I look at photos, it gives me 3406, and when I looked at my maps as well, it gave me, but it doesn't look like the same one that's actually in that location. So this just might have been uploaded and incorrect. And so this one looks like the one that's actually at the location. And so the sun. So this is as much as I can zoom in. I'm trying to look for a marker, an indicator that it's the 105 or anything just to line that up. Some of them do have the suite numbers and some of them don't. I think it was either the animal hospital or one of these that was actually 110. It might be in the corner here. Actually, let me just. So yeah, so it's 18521. So this is the building. Okay, so get off that X guy there. $110. Okay, so was that one? So that's Nails and Spas 110. See, they have it on the friggin' door. I don't know why people don't make these indicators easier for us to find. Because that will add more credibility to Turning Point USA regarding this. If we can just get the anyway. Anyone wants to? I'll keep looking at this again. I just started. Anyway. So he might actually, and again, it's not this guy's fault. Wasn't financing if he didn't look at those financials. I do. I have a VPN. I can connect to different countries, and sometimes I do get information. Just I don't know why, but like that some people just don't get access to. And so this is the video he shared, and I'm just interested in.
I know a thing or two about defenders, and defenders in cybersecurity.
2 weeks ago, I posted a video about red flags at Turning Point USA. Among the many things I mentioned, Turning Point was missing 3 of the 4.
Okay, so that was his original video. That's why he was sharing it. All right, I'll take a look at that at some other point. There's something else that showed 105 though for the UPS store. So again, if people are going to be doing like a quick search and looking at the photo from actual maps, and then even like what I'm showing you here online, where it has that UPS store that's not the same store at all and it has 3406, that needs to get removed from that location because that's going to get people off target. And am I still sharing? What am I sharing? Nothing. I'm not even sharing it. Okay. Was it this one? No. Yeah, let's see here. So you've got the UPS store 105, STE 105, Queen Creek. Okay. Nope. Let's see here. STE 105, they actually do have it in their financial reports. And so, okay, so with Turning Point USA, there was information, he's not wrong in that was released after the fact. But when it comes to the location, the 503, I don't know about that, but anyways, the 105 does line up. So, yep. Back on with the show. Again, I don't like being biased. And so like so if there's incorrect information that's being shared, again, I'm watching the video with you, then I do want to make sure that I do my due diligence and don't just make claims without actually doing my own research. And yeah, so anyway, here we go.
Roar about it. I have other things to make videos about. The only reason I'm still making videos about Turning Point is because you keep making such a big deal about it. You keep attacking me, so I have to respond. The fact that people are going ballistic makes it seem like something I said is making people scared. I have to say that I've always liked Tim Pool. I have personally watched
some
a
good stuff
lot of
in
his
there.
videos. If he were to look at his records, he would see that I used to be a paying member of Timcast. I will tell you this, I will not be a paying member in the future. I'm not making this video so that people feel sorry for me. I don't need Tim Pool to like my videos. I've been through a lot in my life. If Tim Pool wants to hate me, it really doesn't bother me that much. I understand that Tim Pool is friends with all of the people at Turning Point. I realize that they probably called him and asked him to discredit my video. I realize that social media is a rough and tumble business, and I get it. I have no bad feelings towards Tim Pool. You don't have to send him any hate. I am making this video to show you my evidence of the
So
type
many
of
people do
person
that.
Tim Pool actually is, so that the next time that Tim Pool starts going on his rants about Candace Owens, you can put it in perspective. I want to take you back in time to when this all started. Most people have forgotten about this. When Candace Owens first started talking about Brigitte Macron, she posted this tweet on March 12th, 2024. I would stake my entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron is in fact a man. Let me show you what Tim Pool said on his show that day.
I'm like, sometimes I wish I had the gall to say such a thing, because you get headlines, you build followers, you make a lot of money doing that stuff.
What bank is going to take the house when that's not true? I'm here from the career bank, and I would like your career
I'm not
as
saying
collateral.
I'm not literally talking about a bet. I'm saying like Candace Owens saying such a provocative thing certainly will make her a household name, and her career is benefiting from it. There's no loss of her career from saying anything like this. I don't doubt her that she truly believes this. I'm just saying, I wish I sometimes believed these things, and then I could make videos like that instead of just being like, probably not.
He said, sometimes I wish I had the gall to say such a thing. He is jealous. He's jealous of Candace Owens. He has been for the last 2 years. He wishes that he can talk about the Brigitte Macron scandal, but he knows that if he does, it will upset all of his political friends. And it is the same thing that he's doing today. He is still jealous of Candace Owens, he is still frustrated, and he is still protecting his political friends. You can see it in the video. In Tim Pool's rant against me, he's basically giving me advice. He's telling me to shut my mouth. I can tell you, Tim Pool, that is not going to happen. But now let me give you some advice, Tim Pool. If I were you, I would be very careful about staking your reputation on claiming that Turning Point is this wonderful company with no financial problems. I know that you are off somewhere in West Virginia. I'm here on the ground in Phoenix, Arizona, where Turning Point's main offices are. I am talking to people, and I am hearing the stories about what is really going on behind the scenes in the financial records at Turning Point. And I will say, there is a lot more that I did not include in my last 2 videos. There are people working on stories about corruption at Turning Point and how they are using their shell companies to inappropriately move money around for politicians. People have not published these stories because they were afraid of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk has been dead for 3 months. These stories are going to start to come out. So before you base your reputation on singing the praises of Turning Point, I would think twice if I were you. This is a case of don't shoot the messenger. I'm just giving you a heads up about what is coming. Tim Pool's big argument is that we have to support Turning Point because it is splitting the Republican Party.
How she is telling people to pull their funding from Turning Point.
Yeah.
And she's destroying the coalition. Democrats are going to win in the midterms because of what she is doing.
Who cares?
And she said, I actually would prefer it not if the Democrats win the midterms and then start committees and then start arresting media personalities
and doing what they did impeaching Trump a gazillion times.
We knew that when we elected the guy. We knew that was coming. It's either coming now or it's coming in 2 years or it's coming in 4 years. I mean, what's your point?
It doesn't have to come.
Just not now?
No, it doesn't have to come if we stop these self-inflicted
Oh, yeah, sure.
wounds.
No, they'll never.
These are self-inflicted
You're absolutely
wounds.
right. There'll never be another Democrat president, so that's never
I'm not saying that, Milo. I'm not saying that.
That was baked in when
Milo,
when
we don't have to forego the entirety of Congress to the Democrats only so that they can spend the next 2 years after the midterms
because they're so effective.
We keep doing that though. We cannibalize from within. Even in Canada, like it's happening with Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, absolutely corrupt individual. I cannot believe this guy is not in jail or in courts, spending a lot of friggin' money in order to keep himself out of friggin' jail. Like, this guy is an absolute, oh my goodness, just a traitor to Canada. Has been since COVID. Beyond that, but really bad since that. Such a grifter. And it's caused a lot of division within the Conservative Party. And again, just like the narrative and the messaging regarding what's going on in Israel and Palestine, in the Middle East, and with Russia, Ukraine, and supporting proxy wars that are only benefiting the military-industrial pharmaceutical complex. And then again, with not pushing enough regarding like this net zero GFANS, carbon credit system, digital IDs, biodigital convergence, massive surveillance, overreach, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's like we need to have people within that are strong enough to resist this from the inside, right? And because that's their jobs. People keep saying that this needs to be some kind of like a civil war, and yeah, it's working in some countries and stuff like that. I don't agree with that. Even what was going on with Bulgaria, like even without firearms, there was a peaceful movement, resistance, protest, and because of government corruption and overreach, etc. And they ended up, I guess, a few people stepped down within government, and again the pressure was put on. But I mean, within Canada, like we could do something like that. But we already did Freedom Convoy, and there's no one that was planning that or organizing that can touch any form of planning or organization or the hint of other protests, because they will go to goddamn jail. And some of them are still in the courts. Okay, so that's not going to look good for their cases or their appeals, or they're on friggin' house arrest, right? And so, like, anyway, where was I going with this? Yeah, education for sure from people within government, and building the trust from within again. People are relying on people that are not in government, people that we pay taxes to provide these services, protect us from overreach and authoritarian regimes and crime and all this stuff. And even from within, they're like, oh, we can't do anything about it. We can't do anything about it. But they're expecting veterans. They're expecting veteran law enforcement. They're expecting veteran military, et cetera, to do their jobs for them. Because they're like, oh, we can't touch this, blah, blah, blah. Like, you need to touch this. This is your goddamn job, respectfully speaking. There's so many whistleblowers that have come out. Our lives have been ruined. Careers destroyed, reputational damage, all of that stuff. So we've already done our job. Okay, still licking my goddamn wounds. Okay, so like people from within government, like let's have a chat, sit down and talk. And anyways, I know I'm ranting on and on, but I mean, this is just like we need to have like better expectations for people within government that we pay our tax money to do their goddamn jobs, including people within the House of Commons and our cabinet ministers and our senators. And our Supreme Court. But again, these people, unfortunately, a large percent of them are fully drinking the woke DEI net zero carbon stuff agenda narrative. And it is absolutely a two-tiered justice system. It is. And until more lawyers and judges step up, okay, there are movements all over Canada where there are people part of the legal system that are taking the government to task. And they have them in the courts, and people I've communicated with as well. And I've given them a lot of information as well. So they have a lot there. And yeah, but they're still waiting for their time in court. It's been so long, especially in Ottawa. There's cases that get dropped after a certain period of time where criminals actually get to be free. And but they're focused on Tamara Leach and people like that. That's the irony. They put so much of their resources into heroes, into vilifying heroes and punishing them in the courts, and they're letting actual criminals go free. And it's just too obvious not to speak out on, right? So anyway.
This is an outrageous statement for anyone who's been paying.
Yeah, sorry, before I even get into that. So like we're cannibalizing from within. There's people still within the Conservative Party that are still not understanding things that are going on in the Middle East, like I was saying, and with Russia, Ukraine, and so many other things. And there's infighting. And people not even wanting to vote or going and voting PPC, et cetera, which I did as well in 2021. I voted PPC because I didn't trust conservatives or liberals or any of the other parties, NDP, because again, they were full of shit, respectfully speaking. And Maxime Bernier at the time was the only, and he got screwed over, by the way, out of his conservative leadership. And then we get Scheer and these guys like Aaron O'Toole instead. And respectfully speaking, they're fine. They're great guys. I'm not saying they're not. That they just were not it. They were not it. They were not it for the job at the time. And anyways, and that's why they lost support, right? Like we need good leadership and we need them to be strong and we need everyone to get along. And when there are people within your cabinet or within your, not within your cabinet, but within the House of Commons, your elected members of parliament, if they are corrupt, then you need to be calling out your own. So why hasn't Doug Ford and Pierre Poilievre ever like addressed the clear, obvious, not animosity, but like they don't support each other. It's very clear. And I don't know, Pierre, everyone says needs to be nicer. I think he needs to be harder. I think he needs to be tougher. That's just my opinion. And he's our only hope at this point for someone that's elected, someone that is in a position of leadership, and someone that for the most part is actually doing or pushing for good things within Canada. And with the people that he has within his governing body, like Danielle Smith and strong people like that, like he's got good people on his team as well. And yeah, there's no hope with the NDP or with the Bloc or pushing the same agenda.
Attention. Turning Point themselves has been viciously attacking other Republicans. Just last month, a Republican city council member, Julie Spilsbury, was recalled in an effort led by Turning Point. She was kicked out of office in the middle of her term. Now, I don't know that much about her, but she looks like a sweet, nice person. Honestly, she looks like someone I would be friends with. She looks like a decent human being. This is a city council person. Turning Point went to her and said, if you do not vote the way Turning Point tells you to vote, we're going to kick you out. Spilsbury is not a rhino. We're not talking about someone like Liz Cheney. This is a mainstream Republican. Turning Point destroyed her life. Now, this is not illegal. It's just dirty politics, so I get it. But why is Tim Pool supporting this? For Tim Pool to argue on his show that we all need to just shut up and support Turning Point for Republican unity, that is the height of hypocrisy. How can you say that, Tim Pool, when last month they went after and destroyed a fellow Republican? Why are they not trying to recall, I don't know, the Democrats? Why not go after the Democrats? That is not what they're doing. They're using their donations to go after Republicans. Tim Pool, you need to open your eyes, and you need to do it fast. Let me also point out something else strange. As far as I'm aware, Turning Point's chief financial officer, Justin Olson, is not a CPA. He's a politician. He's in the Arizona State House of Representatives. Tim Pool, don't you think that's a conflict of interest? One simple explanation for all of this is that maybe Turning Point should not have a politician. Chief Financial Officer Justin Olson.
Sorry.
Let me also point out something else strange. As far as I'm aware, Turning Point's chief financial officer, Justin Olson, is not a CPA. He's a politician. He's in the Arizona State House of Representatives. Tim Pool, don't you think that's a conflict of interest? One simple explanation for all of this is that maybe Turning Point should not have a politician as their CFO. It is entirely possible that Justin Olson has no idea what he is doing. Another problem that I mentioned in my last video that I find outrageous is that in the 990 form for America's Turning Point, Tyler Boyer, the COO, is listed as an independent contractor. Tim Pool, come on. You run a business. You know this is weird. How is the COO and...
Actually, I wanted to confirm that as well, just because of the whole UPS address thing. Again, I like this guy. And again, with Tim Pool as well, there is information that he shares and people that he has on that are really interesting. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I don't really watch Tim Pool. Again, it's only because of the allegations of the compound being struck that I was like, oh shit. I actually felt bad. I'm like, that sucks. So I looked into it and I'm like, that might not be true. So, which was kind of annoying. Like, why do people do that? If in fact it's so I went on that page. This is from an official page. So the CSIT.net State Representative 10B as in Bravo, Justin Olson, Republican. So I've got information here. Representative, Arizona House of Representatives, room, whatever. And then I look at his election personal info. First elected in 2024, next election 2026. Karen, his spouse, that's funny. Date of birth, January 1st, 1979. His birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks. So yeah. Chairman, House Committee on Ways and Means, member, House Committee of Education, member, House Committee on Appropriations. Anyway, so that lines up. Is that a conflict of interest? I don't know. Turning Point USA as well, they were starting to get really good, especially with Charlie Kirk when he was finally starting to question Netanyahu and AIPAC, et cetera, and funding proxy wars that don't benefit people except for the Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, GE, Boeing types, right? The oil complex as well. Started to call that stuff out. I thought they were getting way more interesting because even with Ben Shapiro, I think he, again, it's psychological operations that benefit him financially, which is annoying. And he has I don't think he has any patriotism to the US. And again, I'm Canadian saying that, and stuff that he's shared that were actually legit. Again, it was lies. And so even with the alleged charred, burned babies that he put out there within hours, I looked at that photo through software programs. It was AI generated. I shared that almost immediately. I shared that with a few contacts I had that were social media influencers, and they made it go bigger. And so a lot of people don't know that, but I do. I have communicated with and shared information with people that do follow me, or that are, that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers all over the US and Canada. And, but again, they haven't freaking invited me on their podcast. Some have, but I'm still waiting. Where is it going with that? Yeah, so Ben Shapiro, even though there's certain things where he has a bias in, he does share a lot of good information as well, really interesting stuff that I think that people should know, and he articulates himself very well. But again, when he starts slamming people like Candace Owens, et cetera, when she's doing good work as well, and she's also very smart, right? And so don't throw the baby out with the bathwater with her as well. If you think that there's some things that she's wrong on, she's right about a lot of things, and again, she's entertaining, and people would show up to listen to her, and she has good points to bring up about so many different things. And so the way Turning Point USA has gone, and just what people were resisting to begin with from within the movements, unfortunately, they're doing it to themselves, right? They could have someone like Candace Owens be part of Turning Point USA, and more people would likely go, or Nick Fuentes, or Milo, et cetera, but because they're not in agreement with them on everything. They are on a lot of things, but on just certain things they're not, and bring strong arguments about it. They cancel from within. So they're doing it to themselves. They could be a lot more successful, and yeah, and so could the Conservative Party.
An independent contractor. There are strict rules around this with the IRS. Is this a mistake? How does Tyler Boyer fall under the IRS definition of an independent contractor? So we have already discussed two possible major accounting errors on these forms. The address for 110 LLC being incorrect, That looks like an error. Tyler Boyer being listed as an independent contractor, that looks like an error. How many errors did this politician CFO put in their IRS forms? And why is Tim Pool calling me evil for asking these questions? I want to give a message to all the people who are complaining that the Republican Party is fighting. I think you forget what makes Republicans great. We are the people who put American flags in the front yard. We're the people who like baseball and apple pie. We are the people who, if you raise taxes on our tea, we're going to throw it in the harbor. And yes, we ask questions, and yes, we demand accountability. If we have criminals in our midst, we do not become a stronger party by ignoring them. We become a stronger party by cleaning them out. It is time that we remember who we are. We are Americans, and no one should make fun of you or call you evil because you are standing strong and fighting for the country that you believe in. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about?
All right. I told you what I thought. Yeah, he's right on a lot of things, and he's coming from a good place. And financial stuff is more of his gig, right? Than other people. Okay, so now I want to get into Shawn Ryan. I wanted to get to him at the very end. Save the best for last. And I know there are people that say that he's possibly controlled opposition, et cetera, et cetera. And I will say that, again, I could be wrong, but he seems like a genuine person that is legitimately looking at getting the truth out, and he doesn't care who he steps on in the process. But I will say the thing that's unfortunate is there are people that are going on his show, and they do share a lot of good information, but they are also getting people off target, and they're actually lying about other information, and they're doing it intentionally. And so whether he knows that or not, I don't know, but he asks good questions. But these people, like, it just frustrates me when they lie. And I've mentioned it as well, like who I think it is, whether they realize it or not. These people are lying on his show, and they're misleading people enough to, again, get them off target on certain things. And so yeah, that's why I would love to go on a show or even just talk with him, and because I think that he is genuine. And I did comment on this video. I don't know if it got deleted or not, or just down, but I thought he had so much balls for doing this. And yeah, like I had butterflies in my stomach when he was like doing this. I'm just like, you are such a fucking hero. And so I'm like, you know what? Like, at least in this instance, and I called out Dan Crenshaw before as well. And I did talk about his, like not returning a lot of campaign funds and being fined for it, but with the insider trading thing, like I know he could say whatever he wants about it, but the fact is that he has top secret government clearance, and I think he might even have enhanced top secret government clearance. And he is someone that has access to information that no one else has access to, even within government, right? Except for people that are within this small community of people that have this access. And so there's information that he knows and has regarding wars, regarding so many different events. Again, before other people within government, and then obviously like everyone else, like the civilians within your country. But so again, to me, that is like that is a breach. That's a huge conflict there. And so this is why I've said and I've shared and put this on the record that I've, like, even before things kicked off with Russia, Ukraine, like even 10 days prior to, I put it on the record on my social media, and then I screen captured it saying that we're gonna friggin' get into a goddamn war if we don't address things that are going on with NATO and what Russia was proposing in order to like ease tensions with Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera. And I could have put shares in stocks. I could have invested, for example, in Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, in Palantir before all of that stuff. I was doing videos of this well in advance of these guys getting major contracts internationally. And I'm saying I can't do that because I do have top secret government clearance, and because of the training and the experiences that I've done. Like, it's an unfair advantage, right? It is literally an unfair advantage. And so this is not like, so I think it's a conflict of interest. So even if you are a private contractor, I'm incorporated, for example, I'm not technically working for the government unless I'm doing the official contracts, like signing it and stuff like that. But I'm still an informant and an asset to people. But I do that for free for now. But yeah, I can't invest in certain things because I think that is an absolute conflict. And so even now, like if I was ever to do work with government for government contracts, like I can at least like say that like I have no conflicts, despite the fact that it like all these things that happened, like I knew in advance, shared it in advance, and I could have been a friggin' millionaire by now. Oh my goodness. But anyways, it's fine. But again, if I want to work with government, I don't think that's okay. So especially if you're working in government, Dan Crenshaw, you should absolutely not have any investments in certain companies. And he does. And so Shawn Ryan was addressing that, and I totally agree with him. And so, yeah, that is an unfair advantage, because I will reiterate, he has access to information that no one, even a lot of people within even government, don't know about. And so, and then he has everything that everyone else knows about as well. No. Does that make any sense? I'm like all over the place. I'm sorry. We got back so late last night from the concert, and I'm not used to staying up so late. Anyway.
Very clear. I hate drama. I hate influencer drama. I hate internet drama. I hate the theatrics of it. I can't stand it. And so I want to tell you something. The only reason that I'm going up against Crenshaw is I am sick and tired of watching government officials and people in high places try to silence and bully regular American citizens. I'm sick of seeing it. Somebody's got to stand up to this shit. It might as well be me. It might as well be me. Hopefully, he never, ever gets the opportunity to do this again.
On December 9th, 2025, I received a legal demand letter from lawyers representing Congressman Dan Crenshaw. They are threatening to sue me for defamation because of comments I made on my podcast about a message that he sent me.
So this all transpired from a conversation that I had with Tulsi Gabbard. And I was concerned, although I didn't mention his name in the interview, which you'll see. I was concerned. I wanted to know how a newer congressman can afford to hire a mainstream DJ, Steve Aoki, to spin at his 40th birthday party. I didn't just make this up. Somebody sent me the invitation that he had sent out to everybody
the WWE?
For his 40th birthday. And so that's where I got this from. Anyways, here's the clip with Tulsi.
Is there any direct money? I mean, you see all these people.
Sorry, I wasn't looking at comments. Shawn and Dan can settle things out. Yeah, I think they agreed, even a few days ago, that they're going to conversate. I think it's going to be early January 1st, January 2nd, something along those lines. And so, yeah, they need to hash this out. And so if Shawn can bring, I mean, he's brilliant. And so he's going to have a good conversation. Hopefully Dan will listen and understand where he's coming from with this insider trading stuff. He's going to push it a certain way. But the thing is, again, with your clearances and the access and the information that you have access to, including the intelligence community. Come on, Dan, come on. Are you kidding me? You should not have any investments in certain companies. I will. And so if he brings that up, right, then it's a good point.
You see all these people show up in Congress, the Senate, the cabinet, whatever, and, not wealthy.
Yeah.
And then, let's fast forward a couple of years and they got Steve Aoki DJing their 40th birthday party. How does that happen?
I don't have firsthand experience in this. I have often questioned the same thing.
How?
I know a big factor is the insider trading that goes on in Congress. And again, some people will say, well, hey, I didn't know anything about this. I'm just making investments for my family, or my wife or my husband is making.
He gets a DJ for his 40th birthday. And we're doing, I'm getting married next year, maybe not. God willing. Anyways, we're doing it on our property. We're not millionaires. Could we be millionaires or afford a DJ for what? I wish for this guy's 40th birthday. It's not even a wedding. And so again, how unless you're using what the knowledge that you have, anyways, to do shit like that.
Investments. I don't know anything about what's going on. Maybe they're being honest, maybe they're not. But the reality is you're in a position where you're making decisions either in committee or on the House floor that influence our markets, that influence the outcomes of certain industries, either causing some to tank or others to skyrocket. And the mere perception of insider trading shouldn't exist. This is legislation, again, I introduced in Congress years ago. No member of Congress should be allowed to do any trading of any stocks. Neither should their spouse, neither should their senior staff, period. These are the people who...
The spouses! And I've called this out as well. Look at the people that were in the House of Commons and cabinet, and look like their husbands and their wives. Like even Marco Menachino, I called this out. He was public safety officer during the Freedom Convoy era, and a literal criminal and traitor to Canada, was joking about employing tanks on innocent civilians. Chrystia Freeland and these clowns were calling us terrorists and radicals and all this stuff. But again, I go on these freaking tangents and then I lose the point. I had a point. A little talk. Mind blank.
Have access to proprietary.
His wife had shares and stocks in Northrop Grumman. This was like for Ukraine and Russia. Northrop Grumman, like this is a military contracting company, and so they made bank. And so like how, right? And so this is even with the conservatives and people voting conservative, they were supporting and enabling this stuff. And I'm just like, and they also had friends and family that had shares and stocks in these companies. So like you are voting on wars and supporting wars and money going to these friggin' places for like aid and other things. And like you guys are like, you have a conflict of interest because by doing that, you are literally going to be helping yourself and your family and your friends in the process. So why would you not want that? Right. And so, oh my God, people, make it make sense to me. Friends, family, especially your husband or wife and your kids. Absolutely not. No.
Military private information that's not open to everybody in the public, or certainly before it becomes public. And the possibility of the abuse of power in trading on that information should not exist. It's interesting because as we're seeing, there are some members of Congress who say that share my view on that, but who are continuing to trade stocks themselves. The Senate just passed, I think, out of committee, its first step, legislation that would reflect similar to mine. I think they're banning members and their spouses. We'll see where it goes in the Senate. We've heard a lot of talk coming from leaders from both parties, but no action has been taken. That to me is the most obvious way that people are going from being elected and having no money, and you make what, 160 grand a year or whatever the salary is now, to literally becoming multimillionaires. That is the most obvious way. If there are kind of stringent requirements of financial reporting that every member has to do, certainly at least once a year, more often if you are actively trading in stocks. But I think it would be a little hard, not impossible, but a little hard if somebody's just coming and bringing you a sack of cash.
So after the conversation with Tulsi, that's when I got the text or the message on Instagram from Congressman Crenshaw that I find threatening, telling me he spoke with his boys at 6. Here's a screenshot.
Hey, Shawn, you have the ability to contact your fellow team guy if you've got a problem with me or have questions about how I'm getting rich. Some of my boys at 6 told me about your indirect swipe at me. From the comment you made, it sounds like you have some beliefs that are based on trendy narratives instead of facts.
And just so you know, I mean, Dan does have a history of threatening people. Once again, here is Dan threatening to kill Tucker Carlson. And then again, he reaffirms that he's not joking.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. If I ever meet him.
Okay, so I get the message. I take it as extremely threatening. It is a tier 1 unit, the best, most effective tier 1 unit in the world, deadliest unit.
After, sorry, I'm coughing. After JTF2, no, obviously we have to be biased to our own, but I do believe that our special forces, our Canadian special forces, is the best in the world. And I stand by that, and I've worked with them. I was a supporter, but I was 2IC of one of the squadrons for a few years. The best experience in my military career was working with those guys and around those guys, honestly. And so we worked with DevGru and multiple other, obviously, special forces in the US and the UK and Australia and New Zealand. And because I was 2IC of the squadron, I did a lot of the coordination, administration, and logistics for like the training and or other stuff that we were doing in conjunction with these groups. And so I've met a number of them, like different special forces organizations within the US and again other areas. Incredible guys, warriors, absolutely. And so highly skilled and competent, very intelligent, just very high functioning people. But again, JTF2 as well. I can confirm that these guys are the elite of the elite, freaking incredible. And so, yeah, I'm kind of biased though.
But I don't do anything. I move on. And then a little over a year later, I'm interviewing, a member from SEAL Team 6. Maybe he's one of Dan's boys at 6. So he brought up the fact that he had asked a congressman with an eye patch, didn't want to mention his name, to help him with his book debacle. He received no aid. I filled in the blank. I said, you must be talking about Congressman Crenshaw. Let me share my experience with you, my interactions with Congressman Crenshaw. So I shared them. I told him about the Instagram message, and I told him that I found that threatening. And then I asked Matt if he was one of Dan's boys at 6. Maybe he was here to come beat me up. Matt assured me he wasn't.
I will say that like everyone's going to interpret things differently. And for Shawn, for example, like when he's basically alluding to the fact that like his guys at 6, are looking at him and they're feeding information to Dan as if they have his back, right? And like they're monitoring Shawn Ryan, because of those reasons. It's intimidating for someone that has his connections to say that they're watching you basically and they have my back. Like that's very intimidating. I will say that if I got that friggin' text, I would be very intimidated. I've got very similar kind of like alluding to things that I was involved in regarding training and stuff like that I can't get too much into, where I was just like, holy fuck, okay, so like this is very intimidating. Anyway, but as a threat, like I don't know, for me, like there's always gonna be a hidden message in there, and that's what's unfortunately where there's it's more subjective. But like, would I take it as a threat based on who this is and who he has connections with and how freaking trained they are? Yeah, I would, the more I think about it. And then I'm going to share another video from another member that was a former SEAL and his experience with Dan Crenshaw. And for people that haven't seen that video, it's a must. And I will play that after this. And the fact that he was talking to the Washington Post, like this guy that I think it was Washington Post, but basically saying like he not basically saying, he did say that he would kill Tucker Carlson if he ever saw him, that he wasn't kidding. That is an absolute threat. That is in Canada, you would go to jail for something like that. and he charged and stuff like that, and he didn't. And it's because, again, I guess he's untouchable because he's working in government. It's rules for thee, not for me. And so that does also escalate things. So if he's willing to say something like that on the record to like a journalist, like not even like a close friend or family member or SEAL Team 6, then what are you willing to say behind closed doors? And so that's where it gets a little bit more into the area where it would be more perceived as a threat, or he wanted it to be perceived as a threat. Again, I don't know. They're going to hash it out.
Here's the clip.
I'll give you another example. In the height of my issues, I contacted a former SEAL. I won't name names, but he has an eye patch, and he's a congressman out of a state.
You mean Dan Crenshaw?
I'm not naming names.
Another one of my favorite people.
Sir, here's my situation.
You know, Dan actually sent me a message. I should fucking read this to you. But basically, he tells me I brought something up about him, and I never even I gave him the courtesy of not even mentioning his fucking name. It was about his birthday party where he hired Steve Aoki to DJ his birthday. I mean, that can't be fucking cheap, right? Especially on a congressman's salary. And I brought that up, and Dan sends me a message that says his boys over at 6 are really upset with me that I brought that up, and they're gonna They might come
His
beat me up.
boys at 6.
His boys over at 6.
Well, to infer he's got
I don't know why a
boys that are
congressman would
under
be
him
threatening
at
me with
6?
SEAL Team 6, but I'm still fucking waiting. This is actually a couple
I think
years
he's
old. I
threatened quite a
still
few
have
people.
not had my ass kicked by a couple of guys over at 6. But Dan Crunch, he fits with all these fucking people you're talking about.
So I called him, right? He's a sitting congressman. He's a former officer. And, drum roll please, he was getting ready to release his book. So I call him up. I get a conversation with him. I said, sir, here's my situation. I hired an attorney. The attorney gave me bad advice. Book was published. I've given up attorney-client privilege, cooperated everything I can to fix this. They've still come after me. We can get into all the other stuff that I'm dealing with. I said, sir, can you help me out with this? He's like, well, I'm about ready to publish my book and I'm not getting it reviewed. I'm like, well, sir, same letter of the law that they came after me for, failure to seek pre-publication review. I didn't get pre-publication review because my lawyer told me I didn't have to and he could do it. Like in your case, you have to get it reviewed. I'm here telling you, confirming you have to get reviewed or the government's going to come after you. He's like, yeah, no, but I'm not going to write anything classified in my book. I'm like, there's nothing classified in my book. They said there was, they went through it. They said, nope, there's nothing classified in it. You just failed to seek review. I'm like, so if only thing I failed to do was seek review, you're willingly going around that obligation and you don't give a shit. He's like, yeah, but I'm not going to write about anything classified in my book. That was the answer. Never talked to him again. So he published his book, no review. Nothing's happened. He's kept his money. He's a sitting congressman. I got a payment plan. So to say I've been a little.
I guess you're not one of Dan's boys over at 6. That's
No, definitely not Dan's boys at 6. That's a pretty ridiculous.
I can almost guarantee. It's over anyways. There's 2 seconds left. I can almost guarantee that there's more guys in the special forces in the U.S. that support Shawn than Dan Crenshaw, and they're going to hash it out. I do want to share another. I think he was a former SEAL, and he had something to say about Dan Crenshaw as well. But Shawn Ryan, he's had Dallas on his podcast. He was at the Hill, longest kill shot, Patricia, and I was Combat Support Company 2IC after I got back from Afghanistan, and so in that role, we also had in my company, it was snipers, it was reconnaissance, and it was SIGs, and so he had been in my company in Edmonton. Didn't really know him, and then when I went to the Hill, the Special Forces, I think he came there shortly thereafter or before. I don't know, but he was an assaulter, and again, this is all public knowledge now anyway, so this is why I can say it. And so he came from the regiment, super proud that he, did make a name for himself. Was I a little frustrated that he, after he got out, he focused on his music career? I was at the time, because we were slated to talk, literally, we need to go for a coffee and friggin' talk in person, because there's a lot of stuff, obviously, that we needed to talk about that, we couldn't have over the phone, obviously. Anyway. And but then he went off, and I was like, God damn it. And at the time I was frustrated because we didn't have a lot of allies in Canada still trying to get information out. But I understand, because he had already fallen on his sword. He'd already, did what he could. He went on the goddamn Shawn Ryan show to expose government corruption, and he got a lot of heat for it. And so anyways, it is what it is. But and he's in the community. And so a lot of people respected Dallas for what he did and going on the Shawn Ryan show. A lot of people from the Hill or former guys were sharing the videos with me as well. They were super proud. And so he had leverage, and he had worked with, American Special Forces as well as other special forces. And they all talk. It's a small community. It's a smaller community than people think. And it's a community for life. So here it is. Oh yeah, this is what he shared him.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So I've got something to say.
So retired U.S. Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher. You've probably heard of him before, but this is again relevant. I think he posted this February of last year, the year before.
That I've been holding on to for about 4.5 years now. I've tried to deal with this internally. It's been weighing me down for some time. I've tried to just let it go. Just like I have with the whole nightmare that happened to me and my family. But I feel compelled to come out now and speak the truth about a certain individual. This is not about me. I'm not trying to get into a petty little back and forth match with this person. This is about you, the American people, no matter what side of the aisle that you sit on. This is also, and most importantly to me, about my teammates in the SEAL teams. I feel like you guys should know the truth as well. So back in 2019, I was charged with war crimes, premeditated murder, and I was facing life in prison without parole. I sat in pretrial confinement for about 9 months before my actual trial. During that time, my wife, Andrea, and brother, Shawn, along with a certain group of teammates that I had, were doing everything they could to garner support, to get the truth out about what was going on with me, to expose all the lies and corruption around the UCMJ and everything they were doing to put me away for life.
Wow.
During that time, one name kept popping up. That was Dan Crenshaw. My brother wanted to go speak to him to try and get his support, as well as my teammates who were doing everything they could. And this was for obvious reasons. Dan was a prior SEAL. They thought that this was a no-brainer and that he should get behind it, especially with all the information that was coming out. So my brother, who lives near DC, was going to Congress almost on a daily basis, knocking on every congressman's door on both sides of the aisle, trying to get them to look at what was really going on and get their support. One of those individuals was Dan Crenshaw. So my brother ended up talking to his staff a couple times. They gave him the runaround, but that did not stop him. He kept going back day after day and finally got a hold of Dan. Dan told him he wanted to wait till the situation developed before he made a decision, which, got it. That makes sense. Along with that, some of my teammates who were on that deployment, who were on the ground the day of the incident, went to one of Crenshaw's fundraising parties, pulled him aside and spoke to him face to face, told him what was happening to me was complete BS, that it was chock full of lies, and that I was getting screwed over. Dan told them he'll see what he can do. Once my brother got a hold of Dan, he said, once my brother got a hold of him a second time, Dan said that there wasn't enough information or whatever. My brother got pretty frustrated and ended up sending Dan a semi-scathing email, calling him out for being a politician and not being part of the Brotherhood and not supporting a fellow SEAL. Dan replied to him and said that he would see what he could do. So, as my incarceration went on, and it was late into my incarceration when 50 congressmen ended up signing a petition to release me from prison so I could properly defend myself before trial.
Listen to this.
They basically were saying, give this man the constitutional rights he deserves before he goes to trial for his life. One congressman would not sign that petition. That was Dan Crenshaw. Instead, he decided to write his own petition.
I couldn't even believe it when I heard this. Couldn't even believe it.
And pretty much say to keep me in prison, but just to let me see my lawyers, which were rights I should have already had in the first place. At that point, we decided to scrap asking Dan for help and just move on. No harm, no foul. So obviously, I went to trial, was found not guilty, and ended up retiring out of the Navy.
Oh, God.
Not long after I retired, I got invited to a Turning Point event by 9 Line. While at that event, I just happened to run into Dan Crenshaw. I saw him coming down the hallway, and I wanted to go up and talk to him just to get his thoughts on the whole situation and why he did not support me or why he made up his own petition saying to keep me in prison. I was not angry. I just wanted to talk to him, team guy, to get his thoughts. He saw me from down the hall and immediately looked down at the ground and speed walked right past me. Didn't even give me the time of day. So at that point, I was like, all right, he's a politician. I can kind of understand why he didn't want to support if it would hurt him in some capacity. So I just let it go. Not too long after that, I obviously wrote the book. And when the book came out, I went to Congress to do a book signing for the 50 congressmen who did support me, who did sign that petition to get me out of prison. While there, I was pulled aside by multiple congressmen and was told that Dan Crenshaw was actively working against me behind the scenes. He was going up to each of those congressmen who were supporting me, telling them not to support me, that I was guilty, and that it was his community and they needed to butt out and let him handle it. I don't know how much of an arrogant statement that can be made that Dan said it's his community. That's a joke. But regardless, after hearing this, I was pretty disgusted. It's one thing to not support me and just to back off and not do anything. But Dan, knowing the full well the truth about what was really going on, still went and tried to get people not to support me and pretty much try and put me away for life without.
That was happening in Canada as well. Eating our own, blading our own for some kind of like political advantage. I don't even know why, tactical advantage, financial advantage. And there were a few guys that were still working at the Hill that were involved. I didn't leak any of this or share any of this stuff, but other people have, which is why I'm talking about it. But I still had an in a certain group. Not anymore, which is I'm talking about this as well. Like someone that I was giving information to that I had worked with, and for a while, and then when I got out, I was still working with, but as well incorporated, and information that like really painted certain guys from the special forces in a really bad light. All right, especially from what they were involved in, and I could have totally bladed this guy for like clicks and likes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because again, I had worked with this guy as well. I knew this guy, and I was surprised too. But so what I did was, we do need to do damage control and correct things from within first. Like respectfully speaking, I don't care if you agree with me or not. That's just the way I see it. And so because like I had interacted with this guy before, and so again, I was like, maybe there's more to it than this. And so. And again, but again, then they do that. They do follow up, right? They do share this information with these individuals from within, and like, what the heck is this, right? Like, explain this, right? And it's like, no. And then there's an education piece there, or some kind of disciplinary measures, obviously as well. Guys do get charged. They do get kicked out for things, But it is what it is. And so, So for Dan Crenshaw to do that, like I've heard about it happening here as well. Men and women. So even Helen Bruce, Ottawa Police Services. So like not entirely the same, but because of she was working with special forces as well in Canada. And so people were sending information to people, basically calling her a traitor and a sellout because she was exposing and questioning COVID and the therapeutics. Right. And so, and I was getting these, and I'm like, she's not a fucking, like, she's a goddamn hero. I was having arguments with guys too. And I was like, so pissed off at this. And I'm like, this is literally what they think of anyone that actually shares like actual facts, like the debunked original trials, like not having a placebo group, the VAERS, like not aspirating needles, like all of this stuff. Like, are you kidding me? And then calling her a goddamn traitor because she's sharing this out loud, like at her own expense, completely destroy. Anyway. So yeah, a little triggered, but yeah. But I hope they hash it out. And I do hope that Shawn does talk about retired U.S. Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher and what he did to him, because that is crazy to me.
The way I look at that is Dan was trying to kill me. He was doing this for political favor. He was doing this to climb the political ladder. The reason I'm putting this out right now is because if Dan Crenshaw is willing to lie, to gain favor with other politicians, to climb that political ladder, and pretty much throw somebody away for life, what do you think he's doing to the American people? This man cannot stop lying. And I'll give you some examples. Recently, David Goggins was on a podcast with my good friend Aaron Singerman. I listened to the podcast. I listened to him expose Dan for who he really is. After that podcast, after I listened to the podcast, I DM'd Dave Goggins and said, great job on exposing Dan, only because I know the truth about him and what he did to me. Now, I had no communications with Goggins before this. Me and him really did not know each other. But after I sent him that DM, he then sent me a text message back. And after I read it, this is what really compelled me to come forward and do what I'm doing now. And I'll read you the text.
God damn it.
And this is from Crenshaw to Goggins. Hey man, listen to your Rogan podcast. Good shit. I had no idea about any of that shit with that Team 6 guy making YouTube videos about you and all that. Again, sorry if I made it seem like I was ever in that category. I am not. I wouldn't have tried to get you to speak at my events if I didn't respect you and your message. Like you, I've been in the public eye since about 2018 and understand very well how people will climb over your back to get higher, get more clicks, and get a little more famous. Pieces of shit like Eddie Gallagher have tried to do that at my expense after I tried helping him get out of prison. That should never happen between team guys. God bless and Happy New Year.
That's in a text.
So,
and to David Goggins, who, by the way, is so badass. God, that guy would be so interesting to talk to. But yeah, lying to David Goggins, of all freaking people, someone that has so much power and influence internationally. And, oh my God.
This text message is chock full of lies, which is not surprising.
Wow.
Dan sent this to Goggins after Dan himself was on a podcast talking trash on Goggins. And he is telling Goggins that he tried helping me get out of prison. Again, this man can't stop lying. He'll say whatever it takes to get people on his side and then do the opposite behind the scenes. This has been a repeating pattern of his since he's been in office. Now, I also have some documents here from my brother. It's a list in chronological order of each time he attempted to get Dan's support. He also has emails in here to Dan asking him for his support. I also have the petition that Dan wrote saying to keep me in prison. I'll have all of these on a link that you can click below and you can see for yourself. Again, the reason I'm telling you this is because this is not about me. This is about you, the American people, no matter what side of the aisle you sit behind. Just because someone is a Navy SEAL or because they were wounded in combat does not make them a good person. Does not mean they have character. I want you to think about that next time you vote. Look at this person's character. Look what he's saying, and then look what he's doing behind the scenes. If a person makes a decision and then has to put out a video the next day explaining why he made that decision, it's probably because he knows he didn't make the right decision. I don't want to make this political. I just want people to know who they're voting for and who is representing them. So, Dan, if you want to have a conversation, I'll be in DC next week, actually doing real work to support our brothers in the teams and our law enforcement and our first responders. So if you want to have a conversation, you know where to find me, buddy.
That's so unfortunate. RJS 1972. Born in December 29th. That's my birthday. I'm a little younger. 72 years old. Well, so we'll celebrate the same day. And it's, anyways, it's unfortunate. It got screwed when I was training to fly the RF-4. I hear a lot of stories like that. Oh my goodness. And so Shawn Ryan, he's going to be talking to Dan Crenshaw. Hopefully he brings up this as well. And, but who knows? Long video. and it is Sunday. I need to take my dogs for a walk. So on that note, I will leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.